When I was in Sunday school, I was told that what set Christianity apart from every other religion is that while every other religion is trying to get to heaven by earning their salvation, in Christianity, this is the only religion where we get to heaven through God's grace. Right? What I'm here to tell you today is there is some truth to this. There is a kernel of truth to it, and I'll try to emphasize what is true about it. And yet, if you use this as your model for trying to understand other religions, particularly Eastern religions, it's not going to help you understand them. Today, I'm going to discuss Hinduism. I'll talk a little bit about what salvation is in Hinduism, but I think you're going to see very quickly, one, they're not trying to earn God's favor. Two, they're not even trying to get to heaven. Three, it would be very difficult to describe it in a legalistic framework as attempting to achieve salvation by works. There is something that they are doing. There is effort of a certain kind, but to construe it as works or earning, I think really just kind of distorts it. If this has been what you have been using to understand Christianity and other religions, then what I'm saying, it might be a little bit scary because this is like what you kept in your pocket to help you understand why Christianity is true and why it's different from every other religion. All right. Well, be that as it may, this is not going to help you understand other religions. And I think for that very reason, it's not going to help you understand what distinguishes Christianity. So I will say a little bit about what does distinguish Christianity from Hinduism. But I think it'll start to become obvious. I think you'll see there's a very clear difference. It's just not where you thought it was. So, are Hindus trying to earn their salvation? Are they trying to please God through their own works? Here's what complicates things. Hinduism developed over time, and even today there are different sects of Hinduism. And the story of, trying to get salvation from a god, that may fit some of the monotheistic sects of Hinduism. And those are pretty large. However, the standard story on Hinduism is what you get from the Upanishads. The Upanishads are a group of writings within the Vedas. So the Vedas have 4 types of writings in them. They're the Samhitas, the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, and the Upanishads. And the main ideas, the main concepts that we associate with Hinduism, they come from the Upanishads. I'm talking things like karma, reincarnation, or samsara. And then also, this is very important, in the Upanishads, we get this, you might call it a slogan, you might call it a creed. Atman is Brahman. And I think really to understand what Hinduism is, you have to understand the mystery behind Atman is Brahman. And this is what enlightenment is about. When Hindus say they're trying to achieve enlightenment, it has to do with Atman is Brahman. It's not merely intellectually understanding what Atman is Brahman means. It is more of a deep understanding, fully realizing what it means. Honestly, you could even describe it as faith-seeking understanding. Every Hindu will tell you Atman is Brahman, and they will all affirm it. But there's a sense in which they are affirming it by faith. They don't fully understand it, because if they fully understood it, they would have achieved enlightenment. And the term in the Upanishads for achieving enlightenment is moksha. It means liberation. They will liberation from what? Well, if we're looking at the Upanishads and the Upanishadic theory of the human condition, here's the problem. Throughout your life, you do all kinds of deeds, good and bad. And these deeds, if they are bad deeds, you're punished by karma. If they are good deeds, you're rewarded by karma. You might think, well, that's great. What could be better? That's what we want, a moral universe where good deeds are rewarded and bad deeds are punished. Sounds awesome. Well, maybe not, because it means that life, in one sense, never ends. Hindus believe in reincarnation, life after death. But here's a big difference. They don't believe that life after death is salvation. Okay? So that's the first thing you have to get your mind around. In the West, Christians, we think, oh my gosh, death. What is the solution to death? Oh, there's an afterlife. Great. That solves it. Well, there's life after death. Not Hinduism, because rebirth, life after death, just means more death. And you might be thinking, well, okay, well, hang on. I hear you. If you're reborn, there's also going to be another death, but you get to be reborn again. So death is never permanent. That's the solution, right? No. Hindus think that the cycle of reincarnation is something you want to escape. And if you think about it, it's because ultimately it's pointless. Ultimately it's meaningless, it would seem. You're born again to live a new life, and you do all the same kinds of things. You grow, you have a family, you get old, you die. But it just keeps repeating itself and never moves beyond. It never achieves anything. Now, in some early versions of Hinduism, there was this idea that you would get better and better rebirths as you're being reincarnated, and then you would ultimately be reborn in heaven. And maybe you could say that is similar to how a lot of Christians view it. But that is not the dominant view. That's not the view in the Upanishads. The view in the Upanishads is you want to escape the cycle of samsara altogether. And so moksha, or liberation, that is freeing yourself from the laws of karma. So, one, Hindu salvation is generally not about going to heaven. That's not the goal. And two, it's not about God, frankly. Not in any direct way. That is, the laws of karma are impersonal. It's not a God assigning you to a higher or lower rebirth. No God is behind the power of karma. Karma is a cosmic law of cause and effect. And so we're not trying to earn favor from God, and we're not trying to get to heaven. So what are the Hindus trying to do? What the Hindus are trying to do is to achieve moksha, get out of the cycle. And during the period of the Upanishads, it was thought that fasting and meditating, usually like living the life of a renunciate, essentially a monk, so, retreating from society, not enjoying all the fun things of social life together, and then devoting yourself entirely to meditation, various ascetic practices. It was thought that's how you achieve moksha. That's how you achieve enlightenment. So then comes the Bhagavad Gita, and here's my Oxford World's Classics copy of the Bhagavad Gita. This is a good version. If you're a Westerner like me, can't go wrong with the Oxford World's Classics. I also have a penguin, but really for us, if you're just a Westerner, hey, this does it. This works. All right, so what's the Bhagavad Gita about? First, this is not part of the Vedas. So Hindus will tell you that the Vedas are their chief holy books. And while that may be true, the dominant way that Hindus practice Hinduism does not come from the Vedas. It actually comes from the Bhagavad Gita. And here there is a figure, Krishna, divine figure, who comes as a human. Okay, divine figure comes as a human, Krishna, and he essentially offers a plan of salvation. And remember, salvation is not eternity in heaven. That's not salvation. We're not trying to get to heaven. So, on Hinduism, how is this achieved? Moksha, liberation. How does it happen? Well, Krishna says basically there's three ways, three paths. Now, the word here is yoga. And here, yoga, what it literally means is union. It's actually related to our English word yoke, like to unite, by yoking. It means yoked as in united together, not like me, yoked. So yoga means united, and it means united with Brahman. We have that mystery. Atman is Brahman. What does that mean? The other term, I think this is actually more helpful in some ways. Marga means path. What is the path that you're on? Krishna offers three, depending on how you want to count, four. And they go like this. There's jnana, there's karma, and there is bhakti. There's also raja. Raja is the form of yoga that is essentially synonymous with yoga. It's kind of like Kleenex, if you think about it. No one ever says, give me a tissue. Well, maybe some people do, but a lot of people just say, give me a Kleenex, even though Kleenex is a brand, right? It's just synonymous with the tissue. So Raja Yoga is essentially synonymous with yoga. That's, sitting Indian style, meditating, saying Om. That's what you're familiar with in terms of yoga. That is one path, right? But there are three others. Jnana is the path of intellectual contemplation. That is, here you're trying to understand what Atman is Brahman means through a lot of philosophical study. So it's for people who like to use this. The karma marga, This is the path of action. But interestingly, it's actually more like the path of inaction. So this is going through your life, and you're doing the things that need to be done. You're not looking to fulfill yourself. You're not seeking pleasure for yourself. You're not seeking rewards for yourself. You're doing your duty. You're fulfilling your dharma. That's the term for this, fulfilling your dharma, your duty. But you do it unattached, which might sound a little strange. But you do what is required, what is necessary. You do your duty, but without attachment, without seeking the reward for it. And the idea is, here is a way of acting in the world that does not produce karmic fruit. And if you don't produce karmic fruit, that's how you get liberated, right? Because remember, the goal is to be liberated from the cycle of reincarnation. Karma is what holds you in. And so if you can go through life without producing any karmic fruit, that's going to help you get enlightenment. And then bhakti. Bhakti is the path of devotion. And this is, think of, if you're old like me, you still don't remember the Beatles, but you've at least seen videos of the Beatles. And they kind of come back from this spiritual awakening, and they had tambourines and flowers. And if you think about the kind of the hippie movement, or then what kind of comes on the heels, the Hare Krishna, the beads, the tambourines, the chanting, that's bhakti, right? And we got a particular form of it that came over to San Francisco. I think a lot of Hindus kind of think that the version that came to America in the 60s and 70s, I think they would say it's kind of cringe, but that's bhakti. And that is the path of devotion, or the path of love and peace. And so here's the idea. So with jnana, it's actually very clear that we're trying to understand the implications of Atman as Brahman. With karma and bhakti, that's also going on, but maybe it's not as clear how. Karma, the karma path, when you learn to act without attachment, that is learning to accept that the deepest self is Brahman, that is uncreated divinity. Bhakti is learning to recognize Brahman in everyone else, so learning to see the divinity in everyone else. And then jnana is the philosophical understanding that Atman, the self, Atman, is Brahman. So all three margas, all three paths, are different ways of realizing what Hindus believe is true, that Atman is Brahman. Atman means self, like your essence, your deepest self. Brahman means fundamental reality. It is associated with God, but it's usually thought of as even deeper than God. In many forms of Hinduism, God is kind of at the level of appearance. Brahman is at the level of complete reality. All right, so what truth is there to the slogan, Christianity is the only religion that doesn't try to get to heaven through works? Well, the Hindus are not really trying to get to heaven. There are some. Hinduism is a big, big category, and you can certainly find expressions of Hinduism where people are trying to be reincarnated to a higher rebirth, ultimately a heavenly rebirth. You can find that. You might have to look, because that's not really the dominant mode of Hinduism today. The dominant mode of Hinduism today, one, accepts this Upanishadic ideal of moksha, or liberation from reincarnation, and it is informed now by the Bhagavad Gita, that you take these three paths, or one of the three paths, the jnana, which is the path of the intellect, karma, which is really kind of the path of the heart in action, the bhakti path, which is the path of love. And so can you describe these paths as works? You can try. I don't think it's going to work very well. I mean, I think if you try to fit it into that category, you might find a way, but you're probably going to end up fitting every kind of Christianity into it also. So you're probably wondering now, well, what is the difference between Christianity and Hinduism? Well, I think there's a lot of really significant differences. The way God is understood, also the way humans are understood, and the way salvation is understood. So if you are interested in exploring those questions further, hit subscribe and check out some of the videos coming up.